Hi there, I'm Charlene Shirk, and welcome to Digital Champions, where we speak to some of the most innovative thinkers in the digital space. And joining us today from Austin, Texas is Hal Smith with H Street Digital. Hal, thanks so much for joining us today on Digital Champions.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us what you do over there at H Street Digital.
So we're a boutique performance advertising agency. And so we really focused on helping our clients scale their customer acquisition through digital advertising. So for us, it's mostly any companies that are direct to consumer and are looking to aggressively scale what they're doing on digital ads.
So can you walk us through maybe an example?
Yeah, sure. One client we're currently onboarding right now is a fishing app. And so they have a pretty large consumer base. Like there's over 25 million people who are, bass fishermen in the United States. We're going to help them drive app installs and then eventually paid subscribers for their app. And we're going to be doing that through the Meta platform and then potentially TikTok as well. So what we do is we sit down with them. We think about what are good potential audiences for them. What's a good message strategy to run on these different platforms. And we build out a couple of different projections on what we think they can do in terms of app installs, what the cost per app install would be, and then how much they can spend and sustainably scale those campaigns and those installs.
And can you walk us through the messaging strategy part of this? Because a lot of that is functionality and where we're going to put you and how we're going to set you up. But then there's also the messaging to get people to go to that app and to use that app once it's in front of them in their feeds.
Right. And so what we really focus on is the actual messaging within the advertising creative. And so what we'll try to do is generate a couple assumptions about what themes will resonate best with their audience. And so this might be, scarcity. Maybe this is an app that was just released. And so therefore, you want to be one of the first people to start using it. And there might only be a limited amount of slots for certain features. Another thing that we use is like social proof, where we might take some testimonials from early users and put that in the advertising creative and copy, basically people describing how much they enjoyed using the app and how effective it was. And we'll just take a couple different themes like that. We'll put it into different, we'll put that into our copywriting for the actual messaging on the app, but then maybe we'll develop creative around it. So let's say a testimonial might just be, we'll get an early adopter just to have a direct to camera video where they're talking about how great the app is.
And talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges you face in your particular space. We all know that some things are privacy issues and some things are third-party data and all this kind of stuff. So in you making sure that this app is successful, what are some of the challenges or obstacles or changes in the digital space that you're now dealing with?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge for us, especially with app installs, is the Apple transparency initiative. And so what we're dealing with is kind of three things. One is we're unable to track in-app activity like we did before the iOS 14 update. Two, a lot of the data that used to get passed back from that activity used to define how a lot of these delivery algorithms worked on the Meta platform. And so now that's gone, and these algorithms are basically a lot less efficient. And then three, because of this update and what ATT has done, platforms like Meta, but then also to Apple and their SK ad network constantly are changing to kind of balance out that big shift that we saw around iOS 14. So people are doing these little updates all the time, whether it's a third-party vendor or it's Meta or it's Apple. And we constantly have to stay in front of all these little changes as people are trying to rebalance based on this big update that happened with iOS 14.
Yep, all true things. So before we wrap up, Hal, we've got about a minute left. I'd love to ask, what's your best tip that you have in the digital marketing space?
I think, well, with all the updates, the biggest thing you can do is really focus on creative and what message really resonates with your audience, and finding a really good framework to test a bunch of different assumptions about your creative and what messaging might work. And if you have a good framework and if you can run good tests, you will see an increase in performance. And that's something that's consistent no matter what platform you're on, no matter what updates are happening with algorithms. If you have good creative and a way to test it, you will always succeed.
All right, Hal, that is a great place to leave it. Thanks so much for joining us today on Digital Champions. And if you'd like to learn more about what they're doing at H Street Digital, you can check them out by first going to dailyadbrief.com. Well, I'm your host, Charlene Shirk. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Digital Champions, and we look forward to learning lots of stuff with you next time.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.